नमस्कार बलदेव राज जी।
नमस्कार जी, कैसे हैं?
बहुत अच्छे हैं, बहुत अच्छे हैं।
एक बार ट्राई कर लेते हैं, पहले वॉइस क्लियर हो जाती है, क्लियरिटी आ
हाँ
जाती
जी, हाँ जी, बहुत अच्छा किया।
है। और
हमारे साथ अरुण झा जी भी हैं पैनल में।
अरे वेरी
वो
गुड।
उन्होंने भी अभी जॉइन कर लिया। मैं एक बार रोहित को कॉल कर लेता हूँ।
नमस्कार संकल्प जी, नमस्कार बलदेव जी।
नमस्कार वरुण जी।
नमस्कार। आवाज आ रही है सबको?
हाँ जी, हाँ जी।
झा साहब नमस्कार।
नमस्कार सर, नमस्कार
सर कैसे हैं?
बस सर, आपकी दया है। अब आप
सर
दिखे तो और
वेरी
अच्छा
काइंड
होगा।
ऑफ यू। बलदेव राज साहब भी हैं यहाँ
नमस्कार
पर।
जी मनोज जी, नमस्कार।
नमस्कार
झा
सर,
साहब
नमस्कार।
आपको भी मेरा नमस्कार।
नमस्कार नमस्कार
नमस्कार बलदेव राज साहब। और
नमस्कार।
अभी शायद वासवानी साहब नहीं हैं, वरुण सुखीजा हैं। वरुण जी हैं हम यहाँ पर। वरुण इज देयर, वरुण इज देयर। सर फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल थैंक यू वेरी मच झा साहब। एंड संकल्प इज देयर। संकल्प इज आवर कोऑर्डिनेटर एंड वरुण सुखीजा इज आवर कोऑर्डिनेटर। झा साहब और बलदेव राज साहब, थैंक यू वेरी मच फॉर ज्वाइनिंग अस एट सच शॉर्ट नोटिस एंड वी आर ऑल लुकिंग फॉरवर्ड कि आप लोगों से हम लोग गाइडेंस लें। झा साहब बड़े आज तो स्मार्ट लग रहे हैं आप, एज यूजुअल। मतलब हर सिचुएशन में स्मार्ट ही दिखते हैं बेसिकली।
वो तो आपके नजरों का फेर है।
नजरों का फेर है।
मैं तो जैसा हूँ
नजरों का फेर है।
आपका
बलदेव
नजर जो है ना।
साहब, मैं अपने और मित्रों को नमस्कार, जिनके नाम दिख रहे हैं उनको नमस्कार। अनुज, रश्मि, सिंगला को। झा साहब और मैं इकट्ठे थे सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट में, और झा साहब इंडियन इकोनॉमिक सर्विस से बिलोंग करते हैं। अभी जब शुरू करेंगे फॉर्मली तो आई विल इंट्रोड्यूस हिम। बलदेव राज साहब का मुझे बताया था कि ही इज अ वेरी सीनियर पर्सन इन डायरेक्ट टैक्सेस एंड ऑल दैट। हम लोग वासवानी साहब का इंतजार कर रहे हैं ना शायद, संकल्प जी?
हाँ जी
जी सर जी। और थोड़ा 5 मिनट्स डिले करके स्टार्ट करते हैं क्योंकि मेंबर्स ज्वाइन करते हैं यूजुअली।
अच्छा, मेंबर्स ज्वाइन, मेंबर्स
बिल्कुल 5 तक ही स्टार्ट करेंगे।
दैट्स राइट, दैट्स राइट। वरुण जी ने बड़ा अच्छा किया, वरुण जी को आपने ज्वाइन करवा लिया. वरुण हैज बीन अ वेरी वेरी एक्टिव पर्सन इन
Thank you.
फरीदाबाद चैप्टर. गिरीश गाखर जी हमारे बड़े एक्टिव हैं, जो
जी,
मैं
डॉक्टर जी एक्टिव हैं हमारे साथ, बिल्कुल सही कह रहे हैं सर.
उसमें देखता हूँ अपने जो हमारे ग्रुप्स हैं ना जी, व्हाट्सएप ग्रुप्स में काफी
Right.
अच्छा है बेसिकली. तो झा साहब कैसा चल रहा है, कैसा इकोनॉमिक सर्विस ने झंडा गाड़ा हुआ है, मतलब पूरे गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया में?
नहीं, झंडा क्या गाड़ा हुआ, लेकिन हाँ मतलब हम लोग इधर उधर करते रहते हैं, हाथ पैर मारते रहते हैं.
नहीं हाथ पैर
देखिए, आप लोग तो यहाँ पर हैं, एसोसिएशन एंड यूनियन जो है ना
जी
तो हमारे देश में एसोसिएशन सिर्फ एक ही है
जी
यूनियन एक ही है, वो
हाँ.
आप जानते हैं, मैं नाम नहीं लूंगा.
जी जी जी.
बाकी हम लोग एसोसिएशन है, तो जितना आप आगे बढ़ा सकते. वासवानी जी आ गए बस.
रोहित वासवानी साहब ने भी ज्वाइन किया है. मोस्ट वेलकम
जी,
रोहित जी, मोस्ट वेलकम.
रोहित जी
सभी को
नमस्कार.
नमस्कार. नमस्कार
नमस्कार दीपाली जी.
संकल्प जी, बलदेव जी नमस्कार, बाकी सबको भी नमस्कार.
ये ऑनलाइन में ये हो गया जी कि एक तो पंक्चुअलिटी हो गई है, और दूसरा लोग बाग काफी ज्वाइन परसेंटेज बढ़ जाती है, बट वो जो एक पर्सनल आपस में चुगलबाजी का रहता है ना मजा, वो थोड़ा सा मिस रहता है बेसिकली जो आपस में. अब धीरे धीरे हो सकता है शायद कोरोना खुल जाए तो इट शुड बी ओके, बेसिकली थोड़ा सा बेटर हो जाएगा.
नहीं, हाइब्रिड मोड तो रहेगा ही अब.
जी 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 जी. I think ज्यादा people have realized the benefits of this thing. Tremendous benefits. मैं आपको बताऊं, हम लोग जब कॉमर्स में थे ज्यादा, तो वहाँ हमारी ये एंटी डंपिंग की जो इन्वेस्टिगेशंस होती थी, उसमें कई फॉरेन की कंट्रीज वो करती थी पार्टिसिपेट, बट कई जगह से लोग नहीं आ पाते थे. अब रोमानिया, कहाँ, यहाँ वहां से वो अपना खोलते हैं अपना लैपटॉप और अपना दे पार्टिसिपेट. Now they participate in those hearings, and almost quite good percentage of people participate now.
मनोज जी, ये बाय डिफॉल्ट है, बाय डिजाइन नहीं हुआ ये काम.
हाँ, बाय डिफॉल्ट
कोविड ने जबरदस्ती ले आया ये.
बट
और अब आप यूज्ड टू हो गए, अब हमें रिवर्स करना मुश्किल होगा.
अब रिवर्स करना मुश्किल हो गया. बिल्कुल बिल्कुल बिल्कुल. अब जब आपको लगता है ना जी बाहर, अब बलदेव जी, अब हम लोगों ने देख लिया कि 2-2 घंटे 1.5 घंटे सड़कों पे लगाने की बजाय यू आर एक्चुअली एबल टू डू समथिंग गुड. तो
डेफिनेटली ये प्रोडक्टिव काम कर पाते हैं आप, प्रोडक्टिव बढ़ती है आप.
जी, यू आर एब्सोल्युटली राइट. बिल्कुल ठीक है. मेरे ख्याल से संकल्प जी कर लें शुरू, थोड़ा लोग बात करते रहेंगे ज्वाइन धीरे धीरे.
जी सर, हम शुरू कर देते हैं.
जी.
गुड आफ्टरनून मेंबर्स. CMA Central Delhi Study Circle along with Faridabad Chapter from the Institute of Cost Accountants of India invites you all to the program on budget, which was recently announced yesterday. Before introducing the speakers, I would like to have CMA Varun Sukhija ji, Chairman of Faridabad Chapter of Institute of Cost Accountants of India, to give a welcome address to all the members present here.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
Myself, CMA Varun Sukhija, Chairman Faridabad Chapter. On behalf of my committee member of Faridabad, I welcome to all of you in this today webinar. As we all aware that Union Budget 2022 and 23, as yesterday represented by the Finance Minister Nirmala Sethuramanji. From this budget, as we know, there is no as such relaxation is for middle taxpayer. We can't see as usual. So they are expecting of income tax slab relaxation and some standard deductions. Apart from basically middle taxpayer, तो यही सब देखता है. So basically, and we have a tax salaried class taxpayers among who are expecting from the budget. So just to say, I must say that it would be early analysis of Union Budget 2022-23, as professionals are just in the preparation and Central and Faridabad Chapter have taken such initiative for our members to have such deliberation with the eminent speaker. So, we, without taking so much time, we welcome eminent guest speaker of the day, Shri Arun Kumar sir, IS, Shri Baldev Raj sir from direct tax perspective, Arun sir from economic perspective, and Shri Rohit Vaswani sir from indirect tax perspective. So the brief profile will be shared later on by the. So I would also here like to thank conveyor, especially Sankalp Wadhwa ji for taking such initiative from Central Delhi CB Study Circle also. As as the program is on virtual mode, so I can't say कि तालियां बजती रहे for the speaker. So rather, I request to all the members present here to on their video mode on, so that speaker when address the presentation to the members, so that he feels motivated. I feel that he or she will feel motivated, so that and audience is listening patiently. So there would be a question and answer session also, as right, Sankalp ji? So I now request Sankalp Wadhwa ji to further take the proceeding and start the program.
Yes. So, good afternoon, everyone. As Varun ji has rightly said, that there are a lot of expectations from the middle class regarding the budget, and we will delve down deeper into this topic today. But before dwelling deeper into it, I would like to tell what is the idea of organizing today's program. So generally, amongst financial professionals, cost accountants, we tend to focus more on direct taxes in the budget. But in this program, we thought that why not get an economic perspective and then delve into the integrities of the taxes as well. So we have tried to design this program at a very comprehensive level with the economic perspective would be shared by a very well-known speaker. So I'll introduce Shri Arun Kumar Jhaji. I think my PowerPoint presentation is visible to everyone. Is it visible? Yes. So Shri Arun Kumar Jhaji is an MA in Economics, MSc Finance LLB. He is an Indian Economic Service Officer of 1985 batch. He is a former Principal Advisor, Department of Agriculture and Farmers Welfare. He worked in various ministries of the Government of India, namely National Productivity Council, Department for Promotion of Industry and Internal Trade, Department of Economic Affairs, and Ministry of Health and Family Welfare. He was also a CEO of Khadi and Village Industries Commission, Ministry of Micro, Small and Medium Enterprises. I would also like to, sir, we are very fortunate to have you with us today, and we would be very, it will be very good for us to hear your keen insights on this topic. Also, I would like to introduce the moderator, Shri CMA M K Anand. He is a cost accountant and NCOM, MBA Finance from Strathclyde Graduate Business School, Glasgow, UK. He joined the Group A Indian Cost Account Service in Central Government in 1988 batch. He is a former Principal Advisor Cost in the Central Government. He worked in various ministries of the Government of India, namely Department of Company Affairs, Tariff Commission, Ministry of Defence, Department of Commerce, looking after Supply Division, Directorate General of Anti-Dumping, CERC or the Central Electricity Regulatory Commission and Department of Food and Public Distribution. Sir, we are very thankful to you for joining the session today. Our other speakers are there, Shri Baldev Raj ji and Shri Rohit Vaswani ji. So I will introduce them as well after the first session of our topic is concluded by Shri Arun Kumar Jha ji. He will be speaking on the budget speech or the budget in Indian Union Budget 2022 from the economic perspective only. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Wadhwa. Thank you very much. First of all, I am honored to be here in this Cost Accountant Institute. I have had some interaction with their organizer long back when Mr. Puri was there, and I have been to this institute along with him. Mr. Anand is my colleague for the last so many years, and we have also shared the same institute, Strathclyde University in Glasgow, and we have worked in the same ministry also, in the same building also we were there. I would just like to give, a view about the economic aspect of the budget, how it is going to affect the budget. I will share a PowerPoint presentation for your benefit. Is it visible, Mr. Wadhwa?
Yes, sir, it is visible.
Yeah, sir, visible.
ठीक. So I would just like to, give a brief, some concept. Let us be clear about it, because we always talk about it. We often talk about what is fiscal deficit. You will find a hue and cry from international organization that fiscal deficit is increasing. Of course, during the pandemic, nobody is talking about it, but still. So budget deficit is, total expenditure minus total receipts. Since you all are professionals, so you understand all these things better than me. And fiscal deficit has only one, aspect, that total expenditure minus total income, but income does not include borrowings. Just to, say that your finance is not financed by borrowings. So that is why, fiscal deficit is important, because deficit will always be inflationary unless those borrowings, those deficit is going to be invested in a sector which will, give you better product and output, so that inflation is curbed. But it is not always true. So in this budget, the most important point is that under the FRBM Act, which Government of India has imposed on its own, on itself, it talks about only 3% of the fiscal deficit is allowed. But there was amendment to it last year with the onset of pandemic, and in 21-22 it was 6.9%. It has been estimated. In budget estimate it was 6.8, but now in revised estimate it was found or estimated that it will go up to 6.9%. But in this budget, I'm talking about the budget 22-23, when 22 budget, it has been estimated to be at 6.4%. So this 6.4% needs to be watched carefully, lest it become inflationary. Now, what is the problem with the inflation? Because inflation affects the poor most. because it is across the board, so it will affect both. And secondly, it will affect the next generation of investment also. So now what are those threats? Besides the 6.4% of the fiscal deficit, which is 2 times of the FRBM Act, the benchmark which we decided ourselves, that price of crude oil is almost touching $90. It is almost 50% higher than the last year. And then last year you have all seen that government has pumped money into the economy to push the investment, public spending, so that consumption can increase. But it is a monetary policy. But monetary policy has a limited life. So how long it will sustain, that is also needs to be seen. Because what happens that when monetary policy with the pumping of liquidity, what happens that interest rate on savings has come down by 2.13%. That is medium range term. And loan is almost 2%. So what happens? While saving rate has come down, but loan interest rate has also come down, which may help in investment. But at the same time, what happens? All other countries in the world are doing the same thing. So what will happen? Like suppose prices of crude oil 50%, 80% of our crude requirement is made by import. So what we will do? We will import inflation because with the high price. So we are importing inflation, even though we are trying to contain our own inflation in the domestic market, but there is a limitation with the open economy. Secondly, when all of them are doing it, so there will be a pressure on the inflation. Global inflation also may increase, and our bond market will also be influenced by those global influences. Now, second one, we are also going to borrow almost 9 lakh crore this year, center and state both. So that will also have impact on inflation. So that is what these are the background on which you will find everybody talking why fiscal deficit is increasing, why subsidy is increasing, public spending on investment is good, but public spending on subsidy is not good. So, but public investment at the same time is very, very important during this juncture, not only during this juncture, otherwise also it is very much required. All these public sector undertaking which came up, that is all a part of public investment policy only. But now, we also know that when you invest, public investment is more, then they crowd out the private investment. Instead of attracting private investment, sometimes they drive it out. But public investment is otherwise very necessary because we say, we claim that our economy has come back to that level, pre-pandemic level, except 2 sectors, that is contact intensive sector like hospitality sector, retail sector. So these are the 2 sectors, content intensive sector. Many people have become jobless. Many organization factories have been closed down. Employment has gone up. So private consumption has still not reached the pre-pandemic. So, that is why but public investors, how do we, finance it? So union budget this time, now I am coming to union budget, they have stepped up the public investment from 5.5 lakh crores in the 21 budget to 7.5 lakh crore. How they will do it, we will come back, we'll go see in the later, slides. But what I'm saying that 7.5 lakh crore they have earmarked for public investment. So that is very, very courageous move by the government. And that's why you will find that there has been, appreciation from all quarters, because this public investment will lead to production of goods and services, which is very much required, and most of them will be invested or spent on infrastructure. Now I will just give you some prime big data. Revenue receipts has been estimated at 20.78 lakh crores in 21-22. I know this is a revised estimate. This year, the first time or after many years, it has been seen that revenue from direct taxes as well as from GST and indirect taxes has increased a lot. Almost 27% of growth was seen. So that's why revenue receipt, which was estimated to be around 17-18 lakhs, has been revised to 20.78 lakh. And along with this enthusiasm, we are thinking that in next year also, we will continue to see that. Of course, there is a caveat. People are cautious about it. They are saying that we may not see that much of increase next year. But still, budget estimates for 22 budget, 22-23 is 22.04 lakh crores. Quite a good number. So total expenditure was 37.7 lakh crore in 21-22, and it has been estimated to go up to 39.4 lakh crore. Why I'm telling you all these things? Because most of this expenditure, I told you that 7.5 lakhs out of this, because we are always blamed that most of the expenditure are revenue expenditure on unproductive usage, salary, subsidy, debt servicing, all these things, all these three. But this time, 7.5 lakh crore is only going for investment. So fiscal deficit, which has gone up from 9.3 lakh in 2020 to 18.2 lakh crore in 2021. Please don't bother to remember this. I will send this PowerPoint presentation to Mr. Wadhwa, who may like to share with you all. But you know what happened? And in this current year, it has come down to 15 lakh crore because we have had a high receipt of revenues due to higher realization of taxes. And again, in this next year, this budget of 22-23, it has been estimated to be 16.6 lakh crore. As a proportion of GDP, you will see that fiscal deficit in 2019-2020 was 3.9%, which has gone up to 9.2% in 2021 and 6.9% in 21, this current year. And next year it has been estimated to be at 6.4%. So these are 6.4% fiscal deficit means government will have to borrow or to print money, which may lead to inflation. So that's why it needs to be careful. So now we are talking about quality of deficit. Why we are talking about the quality of deficit? That out of this deficit, how much is revenue deficit, which means that how much of it will go for subsidy, consumption, and non-productive use, because this will affect the future generation. That because we are consuming, which they will have to follow. The next generation will have to follow. The next year they will have to follow. So that's why quality of deficit is talked about, and we will find that in India, in the budget, Why I am giving you all this picture? Because against this benchmark, you will judge whether the economic fallout of this budget is good or bad. In India, we always talk about the tax GDP ratio, which should be 13%. It is a thumb rule has been, just decided. But we are about 9%, almost 4 to 5% less than this benchmark figure. Again, composition of taxes is also changing, but it is slightly better this year. Almost 50.5%, more than 50% is coming from the direct taxes. And we all know that we talk about indirect tax, which is supposed to be regressive because it affects poor much more, because it is across the board. Suppose on salt, you will also consume the same amount of salt which the highest bracket income people will consume. So if poor people will have to proportionately pay more taxes. That's why indirect taxes are supposed to be regressive. But this year, in budget estimate 21, we have had a good amount of direct taxes collection, and it has increased the 50% mark. Subsidy, of course, has grown. We can't do it without it, because 80 crores of people are getting free ration, and which is unprecedented in the history of the world. 80 crores. They have been getting this free ration for the last 1.5 years, and it will continue to get till March 22 this year. And I think government may have to extend it again due to this current pandemic if it continues beyond March. Another good thing, which you will notice, that since 1/1/2004, all government employees will have to fund their own pension. And I think Mr. Anand and myself, we are lucky that we came before that in the government, and that's why government is paying pension for us. But what happens? There is chances that they may not get that much pension which persons before 2004 will be getting, because it is contributed. Now I will just talk about certain important aspect which has come in the budget. Is it visible, Mr. Wadhwa?
Yes, sir, it is visible. You can increase the size.
So these slides I have copied down from Department of Economic Affairs. That's why I have just given a disclaimer that these are copied. I will just talk you that why these are important and how these are going to be, non-inflationary, leading to more growth of economy because of the higher amount of allocation for this investment of 7.5 lakh crores. They have said the PM Gati Shakti, inclusive development, productivity enhancement, and financing investment. So if you see that PM Gati Shakti, they are talking about road, rail, transport, multimodal transportation, because it is believed that logistic cost in Indian sense is about 13 to 14% against the world average of 8 to 9%. आनंद साहब will agree. आनंद साहब जब आप थे तो लॉजिस्टिक आ गया था कॉमर्स में?
साहब क्या बोल रहे हैं? सॉरी, आई जस्ट मिस्ड इट.
जब आप कॉमर्स में थे तब लॉजिस्टिक डिपार्टमेंट आ गया था कॉमर्स के अंदर?
जी आ गया था.
हाँ, तो वो उन लोगों का Government of India created a department just to address this issue.
And to integrate all such type of things.
Yes.
So that they can have one common goal. जैसे इन्होंने CDS को किया ना जी, आर्मी नेवी और उसको, तो उसी तरह से उस लाइन के ऊपर में आप बताएं।
हाँ, तो उसी हिसाब से इन्होंने बनाने की कोशिश की कि लॉजिस्टिक का, जैसे it was also noticed that railway share in freight was coming down, road was going up, whereas road freight is costlier. Why? Because their last mile connectivity from railway station to the consumer was not there. So I think they are trying to address those problems and trying to bring it at one place, as Mr. Anand was saying. You will just see this, GDP, that first lockdown, it came down. Again, the second lockdown, this December, January, it came down again, now it is going up. So this W shape of economy is there, and economy is rebounding with the help of investment which is being done by the government of India purposely, and it may also increase later on also this year. These are the graphs that they are showing. If you see this trade deficit, it was higher, that trade deficit, fiscal deficit, just see, but here it is going up, again it is coming down. So then you will see that capital expenditure, how it is going up. And at the same time, CPI is low, but WPI is higher. Not very high, consumer price, but it is possible that CPI increases with lag. So current level of 5 to 6% may go up by 8 to 9%, which will be very, very bad for the poor people and the consumer. So these are the, another thing that they have said, that how employment, if you see this left side graph, that during lockdown, how this employment has come down, again it went back, again it came down here. If you see there, again it is going up with the rate of 12.9 to 13.9%. That is the addition of labor forces in the Employment Provident Fund organization, which is sometimes not exact, because the informal sector people still do not register with the APF. But whatever, it is showing that there is a employment is going on. Now this PM Gati Shakti, what Mr. Anand was saying, that this road, railways, airport, port, mass transport, waterways, logistic infrastructure, all these will be laid to integrated, and one interface will be there. If you want to book something, so at one point you can book all the 2-3 logistic facility. This second one, that is completing 25,000 kilometers of national highway, has been appreciated by all, that they are saying that this 25,000 kilometers, with the help of almost 20,000 crore of rupees which has been allocated for this, will go long way in improving the infrastructure. I will just tell you that, of course, nowadays we are not using this thumb rule, but what we generally say, that if you spend 1 rupee on the road, you get back 3 rupees. If you spend 1 rupee on railway line, you get 4 rupees back. If you invest 1 rupee on the port, you will get 5 rupees back. So point I am saying, that rate of return on these investments are good. And secondly, it leads to a lot of employment also. Construction sector and roadway sector has been found to be major employment generator across the board. Not only that, you need only labor, but you need supervisor, you need diploma holder, engineer, supervisor, everything. So many things. So that is the say that they are also going to set up 4 logistic park through PPP mode. Then, this, I want your attention on this thing, integration of postal and railway network. That is very important. Another thing, that they have tried imported one idea from the already successful experiment all over the world, that is one village, one product, one district, one product. So you might be seeing that one district, one product is being implemented by this UP government. So now railway station has also been found to railway station also has been assigned the work to work as a hub, where one product of that area will be promoted by that station and will be exported or parceled out and supplied to other places. So one station, one product. And I don't know how many stations are there. I think it is almost, 15,000 stations are there all over the country. I may be wrong also. I don't remember exactly. So means it is a very good, initiative giving, push to the local. Generally, it will be artisans only. So that is a very good thing. And 400 new generation Vande Bharat trains will also be introduced. That is also very important. Then, of course, they are saying that ropeway and capacity building for these infrastructure projects will also be developed. Now, agriculture. You know what happened during this pandemic? Agriculture sector is the one which was least affected. And agriculture sector only could provide, food grain to the 80 crore of people, because they have had a surplus of, food grain under purchase under minimum support prices accumulated with the FCI, which helped the ration to be distributed among such a large population. And this year also, agriculture is supposed to grow at 3.9%, which is very high. Anything more than 2% in agriculture is very, very high. So now they are trying to promote chemical-free natural farming. They are trying to use drone to, spray this pesticide, because you all will be knowing that in the Punjab, many people, they are getting affected by cancer only because of spraying of pesticide and eating of pesticide, because by hand you are not able to evenly distribute the spray of the pesticide. But with the drone, uniform and exact amount of pesticide is possible. So that is a very good thing. Then, blended finance, capital finance for agriculture means government will also be, suppose bank is giving 100 rupees, the 20 rupees or 30 rupees will be provided by government in that loan aspect, so that bank has got some kind of comfort level in disbursing of loan. Food grain record production is already there, almost 296 million tons we have achieved. And let me tell you that this year wheat, the total Rabi crop area coverage has been the record, almost 690 lakh hectares. You can only understand that we are sufficient in everything except oil seeds. But this year, with the effort of government to diversify from wheat and paddy to oil seeds and other, millets, which is called nutri products by the government of India. So what they have done, that what it has seen, that almost 18 lakh to 19 lakh hectares has extra additional sowing has been done under mustard, because farmers are, they are entrepreneurs. They saw that prices of mustard has gone up by almost 50% this year. So, sowing of that product, mustard and seed, has gone up by almost 20 lakh hectares. And from which area it has gone? From wheat, almost has seen less than 4 lakh hectares of sowing, which is as per the policy of Government of India, because we are producing more of wheat, more of rice. Rather, we should produce more of nutri products which are more and commercial crop or horticulture, which is more rewarding and more. It will give more income in the hands of the farmers. So education, health, I will not touch because I have already, I think, I covered almost 38 minutes. This one I want to your attention here. This welfare focus. Why I am telling you? Because welfare focus, in all likelihood, will be non-productive. Because like water in every household, PM Awas Yojana of 80 lakhs, North-East development. North-East development, of course, may not be inflationary because it may lead to the production of etc. But most of them will be subsidy. So subsidy will always lead to inefficiency, and because subsidy is supposed to breed inefficiency and inflation. But all of them are not that. And another good thing, just see that post office, all post office has been converted into bank, will be converted into bank. So you can imagine almost 16,000 post office all over the country will serve as a branch, and every village or group of villages will have a branch manager at its doorstep, which may lead to a lot of inclusive savings or inclusive banking facilities for everybody. Secondly, what happened, Government of India has extended the period of emergency credit line guarantee scheme. What happened, they have during the pandemic to ensure cash flow for the MSME sector and hospitality sector. And this time they have included, they have given the status of infrastructure to the database IT company also. That will also help them. But here MSME will continue to get this guarantee cover by the government, and so their cash facility will be easily available to these MSME. Besides, their own credit guarantee fund for MSME is also being revamped with 2 lakh crore of budget. And here 50,000 crore additional budget has been given to this ECLGS scheme for MSME and export sector. So this is going to put money in the hands of exporter and MSME, particularly MSME. So this is very good and is supposed to enhance the productivity and production of MSME and for the benefit of the economy. Then government has again brought, you are aware that ease of doing business was shelved because a lot of corruption was found by the World Bank from few countries, including China, in tampering with the ranking system. So they had saved it, but now again Government of India has thought of bringing it back because they found that this ease of doing business and enhancing the ease of doing business will attract more FDI from outside and from the private investor because India, whatever, while FDI is coming, we are also investing outside. So that will be arrested if we have better, legal system, better licensing system, better other, permission, etc., which is granted online. So all these things has been restarted, and they have also brought in ease of living because passport will be given through online, licenses of driving, etc., in Delhi is being given online. So I think they are trying to make the life easier by bringing all these things. And one thing I just want to, bring to your notice that this PLI scheme has become very, very attractive by the 13 sectors which are getting this. And it is supposed to revolutionize the production capability of particularly this integrated chip, etc., electronic items. Besides auto, steel, others are already there. Pharmaceuticals are also there, but they are going to affect the productivity of these 13 sectors very much, and that's why Government of India has again enhances the this allocation under this. You just see this graph, what I am trying to show you, that revenue expenditure as a percentage coming down and capital expenditure going up, which is a very, very good sign and much against the populist measure. Because
Arun
Government
Kumar
of India is trying to invest more in productivity.
Arun Kumar Jhaji, sorry for disturbing you in between. Actually, the Shri Rohit Vaswani ji is also present.
No, then I will finish. I am already finished. So
Okay.
point, I am just trying to show you that rupee comes from, I will just show you that subsidy is only 8% of the total outflow. So my whole aspect was to tell you that it was more a growth oriented and may not be inflationary. So that's all. Thank you very much.
Thank you,
And
sir.
I am here for any question or any clarification later on. Thank you.
Thank you, Jha. Thank you for a very, very illustrated and very clear presentation. We will debate on this. Mr. Vaswani had to actually go somewhere at 4 o'clock.
Sure, sir.
So that is why
No.
him.
I have exceeded my time, so I'm sorry.
I think that gave us some bird's eye view of the situation, and we will definitely debate it. But Vaswani साहब का थोड़ा सा कुछ commitment.
No, please.
Maybe Vaswani साहब से. Mr. Vaswani, please.
Yes. Thank you, Manoj ji and Sankalp Wadhwa ji. It is my privilege to be here in this study circle meeting, and which is hosted by the Faridabad Chapter and the Central CP Study Circle jointly of the Institute of Cost Accountants of India. Although I am practicing as a chartered accountant, but first I am a cost accountant because I qualified cost accounting 2 years prior to my CA, that is in June 1996. So by heart, I am also a cost accountant, and really it's a privilege. And today's fellow speaker, CA Baldev Raj ji, Direct Tax Expert, and Mr. Jha, who has just gone through the details of the economics, and that is very good. We should understand the economics also, and being a professional, we must understand how the country is being run, from where the money is coming and from where the money is going. And my area of working is indirect taxes, and now mainly it becomes the GST after the repealment of the value-added tax and central excise mainly. So now in the GST, basically all the proposals are coming from the GST Council, and to give effect to those proposals, the central government has the opportunity in the finance bill to amend the CGST Act. And this has to be done because the role of the GST Council is only recommendatory. The GST Council cannot amend the law per se because they are not the legislature. They are a constitutional body, no doubt about it. All the states are participating in it. But the amendment has to come from legislature, and firstly, it is being brought by way of the finance bill. And earlier, they brought out with some special amendment bill also, amendment act also, wherever it is required. But generally it is an yearly exercise, and it is easy to go get these amendments by way of finance bill, because it being the money bill and have a separate procedure for passing from the parliament. So this is the background, and something about the economics also, as the revenue figure for the January 2022 has been shared by Honorable Finance Minister yesterday while the speech. It is more than 1,40,000 crore for that month, and this is the peak from the implementation of the GST from July 2017 onwards. And but let me share this fact also, that the total collection of the GST is only 16% of the total revenue collection by the government. And if you see, as it has already been discussed, that we are the fiscal deficit of almost 6.9%, and almost 35% of the spendings are coming from the borrowings, and we have only 65%, which is our revenue collection. And even the income tax collection is 15%. And if I total the income tax collection with the corporate tax collection, that is also income tax by the companies, total is the 30%, and GST is paying only 16% of total revenue collection. Even if we aggregate the excise and custom, then also the indirect tax part is still lower than the direct tax collection. And that is, cause of concern, because while implementation of the GST, it was thought that the country will now move on to the consumption tax, and the country will slowly and gradually will be moving from the direct taxes to the consumption tax and indirect taxes. There were some talks about being the expenditure tax also, so far as the income tax is concerned. But I think it is not the right time for the government to do such a major change, such a structural level change, because already the government has seen the changes, structural changes, since the Modi government first came into power in 2014, and starting from IBC, GST, and Benami transactions, and many more structural reform which has been brought in by the government. Now it is time for consolidation. It is time for taking the fruits or benefits of the structural changes which has been done by the government past 5 years or 7 years. And now GST also is being seen in the same era. Now the revenue has started growing and started strengthening, and also there is a call that it will increase in future also. There may be 2-3 point for revenue from the GST or the indirect taxes. Either the revenue is maintaining higher than the year-to-year comparison due to the good governance or the strict governance by the government, or it may be due to the higher consumption because more expenditure budget is being brought, because earlier here the fiscal deficit was 9.2% and huge amount of expenditure was brought in by the government. This year also, as it has been told, that capital expenditure is going to be high as 7.5 lakh crore of the budgeted amount. So this could be another reason, and another reason could be that now the compliance level of the GST is increasing day by day. Whatever may be the reason, the fact is that the collection from the GST is maintaining year-to-year increase, and now also we are seeing the increase in the GST collection. So this is something about macro level of the so far as the GST law is concerned. And I would like to certainly share some of the important changes which are brought in by the Finance Bill 2022 so far as the GST is concerned. There are many changes in customs law which I'm not covering right now. We will take it any other time whenever possible. The GST law, first of all, the main the message which has been given by way of this finance bill is that there will not be any invoice level matching so far as the supplier and recipients are concerned. This concept of invoice level matching, like initially when the GST law was introduced, there was a concept of accept, reject, or pending of the invoices, two-way communication from the supplier and the recipient. There is a GSTR 1, 2, and 3, 1 by the supplier, 2 by the recipient, and 3 for the filing of the return. No, that will not be there. It will not be a two-way communication or invoice level matching. It will be a portal level communication, or I would rather say it will be a portal level matching. Now the portal level matching has been introduced fully, and to give effect to this portal level matching, many consequential amendment and sections has been replaced, new section has been introduced and reframed in the similar manner. Few important points in this aspect I would like to highlight, that another clause has been inserted in section 16 subsection 2, the named clause BA, and one more condition has been given for availment of the input tax credit by the recipient, and that is the restriction if the input tax credit has not been restricted under section 38, and if it is restricted, then it will not be available to the supplier or to the recipient. There is one more clause which was inserted last year, budget 2021, and had become effective from 1st of January 2022 recently, regarding the communication of the invoices furnished by the supplier. This is altogether one way forward. Now a restriction has also been imposed that you will not be able to claim the ITC if it has been restricted by section 38, and this section 38 is going to be managed by the GSTN portal by the government, and the section 38 has been replaced altogether to give effect to these restrictions. And I would like to give few points on section 38 also. Earlier, this section 38 was relating to the return of the inward supplies, but now this 38 is going to be the auto-populated, statement, which is presently we are known GSTR 2B. There is one auto-populated form which is there right now also, GSTR 2B. They are giving the legal framework of this auto-generated statement altogether. There is one background behind this finance bill which is looking clearly that GST law was being administered by way of rules and notification, but they have understood from the experience of the so many litigations with the Honorable High Court and Supreme Court, there are so many challenges of the ultra virus of the provisions of the rules and the notification. So they have thought it better to come out with the amendments in the act itself, so that the authority for these provisions may not be challenged in the court of the law. And there are 3-4 consequential changes, amendment in the law which has been presented. In the similar manner, this section 38 has been framed to impose the restrictions and to give the legal framework for the restrictions which are being imposed by the GSTN portal for the purpose of claiming of the ITC by the recipient. So this is with this background that section 38 is being amended. There are amendment in section 37 also. 37 is for filing GSTR 1 return. Basically, it is a details of outward supply which is being furnished by the supplier. There will be, conditions and restrictions they will prescribe for filing the GSTR 1, and for rectification of errors in GSTR 1, the time limit has been increased up to 30th of November of the following financial year. It was earlier 30th of September, and now they are planning to have the GSTR 1 sequential. It means if you have not furnished the GSTR 1 for the last period, you will not be able to furnish the GSTR 1 for the next period. Like GSTR 3B, you cannot miss to file a GSTR 1 for any period. And, for that purpose, the new subsection 4 is being inserted in the section 37. So this is some of the restrictions, some of the changes which are there in the section 37 regime. Now, if you see the section 38, which I was just referring, that there will be restrictions imposed by the government. Now, there has been a lot of talk about the issue whether ITC can be claimed by the recipient if the recipient is having the invoice, if the recipient has made the payment of taxes, payment of invoice altogether, but there is a default by the supplier in uploading the invoice, whether it is the responsibility of the supplier or the recipient. friends, I am saying that now they are not relying on the rules and notification for these types of restriction. They are coming out with these restriction in the act itself. And this is, further 1 or 2 steps forward. It is not only that this ITC will be restricted where the invoice has not been uploaded. Uploaded of the invoice is now mandatory. Even if the recipient has made the payment of taxes, recipient has the invoice in his possession, in recipient has made the payment of the supplies and all together, but the ITC will not be possible. And further, there are restrictions. There are 6 more clauses in section 38 has been provided where the ITC will be treated as ITC which cannot be availed. And it is based on all the experience which the GSTN portal has gathered, and piecemeal basis the amendment has already been done by way of the rules or the notification. Like if the registration is the new registration person, if uploading the invoice, that ITC will be restricted subject to conditions. Because what happens, sometimes the new registration person makes the huge supply of outward taxes, and after 1 or 2 months the registration is cancelled, or they become the defaulter. So they are not going to allow the credit to be claimed by the recipient from the suppliers who are the new registrants. That clause is being proposed here. And the supplier who has defaulted in payment of tax, if the supplier has defaulted in payment of tax, that will be reflected, and ITC cannot be claimed in GSTR 2B if suppose the GSTR 2B is the form to be prescribed there. And not only this, there are further restrictions which are being provided in section 39. In the same manner, section 39 is also being amended. This section 39 is the return of GST which is being filed in GSTR 3B. And they have made it that it will be a return only, GSTR 3B. And there are few amendments in this section 39 that a non-resident taxable person who was supposed to file his monthly return by the 20th of the next month is now supposed to file it before 30th of the next month. Reason being, because on 14th of the next month GSTR 2B is generated, and they want all the returns should be filed before that date, so that the GSTR 2B is conclusive. And for the quarterly return filers, there was an option of 35% as a fixed sum method, or the self-assessed tax liability. That is also being regularized by way of amendment in section 39. Now it is being administered by way of the notification, which is already there, but they are now regularizing by way of the amendment in the act itself. And they are providing the extended time up to 30th of November for rectification of the errors in GSTR 3B return. Till now, it is the September date when you can rectify your mistake. They are all consequential amendment they are making to make it November, so that December is the annual return last date. You can do it by November, 30th day of November, and you can reflect it in the November GSTR 3B, and then accordingly you can file your annual returns and reconciliation statements accordingly. And now for filing the GSTR 3B return, GSTR 1 will become mandatory. If you have not filed the GSTR 1, suppose I give you the example, this is, suppose December month has ended and January has also ended. For January, if you want to file the GSTR 3B, first you have to file the GSTR 1 for the month of January. So now sequential filing of GSTR 1 and mandatory filing of GSTR 1 before filing the GSTR 3B. This is the new normal for the GST compliances. GST compliances is now going to be further strengthened, and I see the professional opportunities here, because whenever there is a strict compliance for professionals like chartered accountant and cost accountants who are involved in the GST practice, they will have the more opportunity for compliances. And now if anybody wants to run the business, the filing of the returns 1 and 3B will become mandatory. This is the new normal. And there is one amendment, although the section 41 has been replaced, there is a new section 41. Earlier, the ITC claim used to be the provisional basis. And why provisional? Because there was a concept of matching. section 42 and 43 were there for matching of the ITC. Now this section 42, 43 and 43A, which was the new section inserted later on, all these three sections are being deleted. So there will be no invoice level matching, as I have already told you. And correspondingly, section 41 is substituted, that whatever ITC the recipient is claiming, that will be the self-assessed ITC. That will not be the provisional ITC. And if it is a self-assessed ITC, you can understand accordingly the penalty provisions and the interest and everything will be there, because it's the self-assessed ITC. And one important point which I want to highlight here is regarding the limitation for availing the ITC. We have the section 16 subsection 4, where the limitation for claiming the ITC as of now is due date of furnishing of the return under section 39 for the month of September of the preceding year. Now it will be 30th November of the following year. It means that this due date of September is replaced with the 30th November time limit. And you know, there was some anomaly also, and because the time limit was based on the due date of the return, and due date of the return of September used to be generally say 20th of October. If you can avail the ITC up to 20th of October, it means that can be reflected in the return of the October 3B itself, whereas the September was treated as the time barring of the claiming of the ITC. Now, if the ITC can be claimed up to 30th November, then you have to have reflected in the November GSTR 3B return if you want to claim it by 30th of the November. So this is, you know, amendment, and corresponding amendment in section 32 has also been provided, that for issuance of the credit note, earlier the September was the time. Now by the 30th November of the following year, the credit note can be claimed. These all are consequential amendment. Now the time is up to 30th November of the following year to get your books, you know, reconciled and claim the ITC and pay the output tax and whatever you have find out during the audit, because generally the audit exercise is being done in the month of September, and 30th September and 31st October being the general date for auditing. So they want to say there was a demand, and we also represented that it should be allowed after the audit, because many shortcomings are being there when the audit is being done. So that has been accepted, and the time limit has been allowed. Only you know, one point I would like to mention here further, because there are many more points, but Baldev ji is also there, and direct tax has so many amendments, important amendments, and you would like to appreciate those amendments. As I already told you, that the restrictions for availing the ITC that are being legalized, accordingly section 49 for payment of taxes is also proposed to be amended, and there are amendment. And like in Rule 86A, we have the restrictions for utilization of ITC. ITC are being blocked, but that is by way of rule. Now they are amending the section 49 accordingly. And further, they are giving a facility for transfer of balance in the e-cash ledger from CGST to SGST to IGST is already in place, but that will be formalized by way of amendment in the Act. And further, a new facility is being provided to transfer the balance of cash ledger to a distinct person, meaning thereby the another person with the same PAN number, another branch. So branch-wise e-cash ledger would be possible to be transferred, and this is you know, being allowed. And further, this transfer will not be allowed if there is a liability standing on the liability registered of the supplier. Then he cannot transfer the balance to the distinct person. That is possible only if the liability you know, is not there. And they will also prescribe the maximum proportional of output tax liability which can be discharged by way of utilizing the input tax credit. Friends, it is already there in Rule 86B And I already told you that many of the provisions are there in rules. They are formalizing is by way of the act to avoid the litigation in the court of law. And with this, I think the main pulses of the GST I tried to convey here. And there are many other points also which I am not covering for the proximity of the time. Thank you very much for allowing me this opportunity. Thank you to all.
Very nice, Rohit ji. Thank you very much. And maybe we'll listen to Baldev ji, though I wanted to comment on few issues, but I think we first listen to Baldev ji for his expert.
Manoj ji, I will be leaving, and I have another back-to-back webinar. If you have any question or issue, I can answer you in a
So
minute.
Varun ji has one question. He'll be asking you.
Hello.
जी वरुण जी बताइए.
Members are asking that in section 16 there is a major requirement. What major requirement fall in that before budget or after budget?
देखिए सेक्शन 16 एक ऐसा सेक्शन है जो कंडीशन इम्पोज करता है कि ये कंडीशंस आप पूरी करेंगे तब आप आईटीसी अवेल कर सकते हैं. पहले 4 कंडीशंस थी. 1 जनवरी 2022 के बाद 5 हो गई थी. अब इस नए बजट में एक छठी कंडीशन और डाल दी गई है. तो ये क्यूमुलेटिव कंडीशंस होती है, अल्टरनेट नहीं होती. यानी कि सारी की सारी कंडीशन पूरी फुलफिल होंगी तो आप आईटीसी अवेल कर सकते हैं. तो उसमें अब 5 कंडीशन जो ऑलरेडी हैं, उसके अलावा एक और जो कंडीशन डाली है कि वो आईटीसी रेस्ट्रिक्शन जो सेक्शन 38 में गवर्नमेंट जब आपको जीएसटीआर 2B देगी, सपोज वही 2B नोटिफाई होगा, उसमें एक कॉलम होगा आईटीसी अवेलेबल और दूसरा एक कॉलम है आईटीसी कैन नॉट बी अवेल्ड, यानी आईटीसी नॉट अवेलेबल. इनवॉइस तो उन्होंने चढ़ाए हैं लेकिन आपको आईटीसी उसका अवेलेबल नहीं है. फॉर एग्जाम्पल, एक पर्सन है जिसने नया रजिस्ट्रेशन दिया, इमीडिएट नया रजिस्ट्रेशन लेते ही 10 करोड़ रुपए की सेल दिखाई और वो आपके नाम पे चढ़ा दी. तो वो यदि उस लिमिट में आता है तो वो जो आपको 10 करोड़ रुपए का इनवॉइस जो नए रजिस्टर्ड पर्सन ने इनवॉइस में चढ़ाया है वो आपको दिखाएगा उसमें आईटीसी कैन नॉट बी अवेल्ड में, यानी कि आईटीसी नॉट अवेलेबल. तो जो आईटीसी नॉट अवेलेबल में दिखा रहा है जीएसटीआर 2B में, उसको भी आप लीगली क्लेम नहीं कर पाएंगे. ये क्लॉज सेक्शन 16(2) में एक और ऐड कर दिया है. यानी कि जो भी रेस्ट्रिक्शंस हैं वो लीगल हो गए, एज पर लॉ हो गए. जी आपका म्यूट है वरुण जी.
म्यूट है वरुण जी. म्यूट अनम्यूट कीजिए वरुण जी.
तो सर मैं ये कह रहा था, अभी हमारे को जब जीएसटी रिटर्न वी आर प्रिपेयरिंग तो वी हैव टू फॉलो जीएसटीआर 2B और 2A.
देखिए मैं आपको इसको क्लियर कर देता हूं, कहीं कंफ्यूजन मत रखिएगा. ये बजट में प्रपोजल है जो मैंने बताया. पहले बजट पास होगा, बजट पास होने के बाद भी एक डेट अपॉइंट होगी जब से ये वाला पर्टिकुलर प्रोविजन इफेक्ट में आएगा. ऑलरेडी आज भी ये इफेक्ट में है इनडायरेक्टली. तो इसलिए आपको जीएसटीआर 2B ही फॉलो करनी है. जो गवर्नमेंट का मैंडेट है वो यही है. लेकिन ये वाले प्रपोजल तो नोटिफाइड डेट से इफेक्टिव होंगे.
ठीक है, थैंक यू सर. Thank you.
1 जनवरी 2022 के बाद जो AA क्लॉज है वो इफेक्टिव हो गया है, जिसमें जीएसटीआर 2B में जो कम्युनिकेशन है इनवॉइसेस का वो मैंडेटरी हो गया है. लेकिन उसमें जो रेस्ट्रिक्टेड कम्युनिकेशन है उसको लीगली अभी उन्होंने अमेंडमेंट में प्रपोज किया है, जिसको वो आगे नोटिफाई करेंगे.
राइट सर, राइट. फ्रॉम माय साइड दैट्स ऑल.
जी मनोज जी, कैन आई लीव? संकल्प जी.
जी सर.
थैंक यू वेरी मच.
थैंक यू वेरी मच.
बलदेव जी,
वरुण से ही क्यू लेते हुए उन्होंने कहा था कि आपने माइक साहब अनम्यूट रखे हैं. तो एट दिस स्टेज एटलीस्ट फॉर झा साहब और आपको बहुत बहुत फॉर वंडरफुल प्रेजेंटेशन एंड टेक अप द क्वेश्चंस फॉर झा साहब लेटर, बट लेट अस नाउ रिक्वेस्ट बलदेव राज साहब टू काइंडली.
थैंक यू रोहित जी.
Before Baldev sir starts, I wanted to give an introduction for him. So, Shri Baldev Raj ji is a chartered accountant in practice with over 3 decades of experience in direct taxes. By education qualification, he is a BCom graduate, plus a fellow chartered accountant and DISA qualified. He served as the president of Bharatiya Vitt Salakar Samiti Society, BVSS, a forum of financial professionals in calendar year 2015 and 2016. Presently, he is the member of the advisory board of BVSS and special advisor to its international taxation group. He is the author of various publications relating to direct taxes. Sir, we are very fortunate to have you with us, and we all hope that we would be enriched from your views on the budget from direct taxes perspective, because we all know that as finance professionals, direct taxes hold the heart of the budget. All the amendments influence each and every person at a very personal level.
Thank you, Wadhwa ji, respected Arun Jahaji, Manoj Kumar ji, and Rohit ji already left, and Varun Sukhija ji. Thank you very much for giving me opportunity to have discuss my views on the direct tax proposals under budget 2022. You see, budget अभी बात कर रहे थे आप कि हमारे हार्ट के साथ जुड़ा हुआ है. Definitely, it is a part of practice, and the heart is with the professionals. If you see that duration of the budget and the part B of the budget, it's take only 15 minutes. It's a 15 minutes. How much highlighted is there? Not much about that. I think this is just to give a flavor of the budget. 82 clauses has been introduced in for the proposed budget. 84. And this budget, I am saying it is a more a technical nature. Is a more on technical, not any major changes are there. Major benefits are being passed on. These are mainly a technical and small issues, small amendment as there. But these major amendment which are there is very important for our professionals. कुछ within limited period, I will try to highlight some of the issues, but it could not be possible me to cover all. But I will try to address the question if any questions is about the audience. बहुत दिनों से चल रहा था वर्चुअल करेंसी के टैक्सेबिलिटी के बारे में. This is a very, very hot topic from the many days, almost a years, 2 years. The government has come with the bill also, but this proposed bill also on this currency, and that has been proposed in Rajya Sabha, but thereof later on it has been sent to the standing committee for the review. But the taxability has been considered as it's in the finance bill. What is that is there? They are saying it is taxable. Now the legal or illegalities will be tested later on. Now the taxability is there. Now the issue is taxability, and thereafter which head of the taxability and what are the rate is there and what is the procedure is there. They have brought out with the definition of the virtual digital definition under 247A. Under that definition, we will see the definition, but two things are important is there is screwed the currency. Which currency? Indian currency and foreign currency. What means there is actual currency which are in operation is not covered under this. It has to be the currency definition is given as given in the FEMA law, currency definition. And government has taken the power also to enhance the definition and gets the exemption to the. They make clause of a person or particularly they can give the exemption power. This two power has been given to them, enhance and exemption. Now the issue is whether this is taxable earlier also or this is taxable from now on. You see that this is already there when the pupil has entered into transaction in the during the current year and as well the earlier year also. The taxability is there or not there. This was a question in the mind of the professionals. In our forum also there is two different views are there. One view is that there is a capital gain. It says it is not a capital gain because it's not fall under the definition of the capital asset. One, it is not fall under the capital asset. How it is a capital gain? Then the what is the and then the capital gain. There is definitely a rate of taxes and indexing point is there. In the but this has not been addressed in the final this proposals. Whether it is taxability under which head. This is still a view of pupils on the different views are there. Whether it is part or part of not part. Then the proposal is that after the definition, they have brought a special rate under section 115 BBH. This section is relating to the special rate of taxes. Under that, this proposal has been inserted. That's 30% of the income will be taxable. Rate of tax is 30%. And they further provided in that section itself, no expenses will be allowed other than the cost of acquisition of that. VDA means virtual digital assets की cost को सिर्फ reduce करेंगे. There is no other expenses will be allowed. And further, it says no setup will be allowed. Setup means either income under the other head. This loss is if loss is there, that is not available for setup with the other head. And more, this under inter head also within the intra head transaction, this is not clear. Intra head also it is not available. Means loss in that. But if one question is still remain, which is unanswered, is if I have a two transactions, in one transaction it is a loss, in another transaction there is a profit under the same virtual digital asset, then whether that loss is also available for setup or not, that has not been addressed. Intra head is okay, but within the head also, it's a main source of income, source to be allowed or not allowed, that has not been clarified. The rate has been given and the setup is not allowed. Further, to check and get a control on this, they have come under the provision of the TDS. We all know TDS provision are earlier, we are saying TDS. Now TDS and TCS is also there. This TDS is also rarely TDS. When we start the practice, there was 4 sections are there. For the 192, 124, A, B, C. Now you see this is section is 194S. But A to S, and there are also a subsection also. You see that TDS is another challenging for our profession to compliance it. Not only the return of income assessment, it is a TDS is itself is going to be a very tedious job for every professional, the businessman. What they are provided, whatever the transaction is taken place under the virtual digital assets, means the seller, once making a payment to the buyer, he has to deduct the tax at the rate of 1% on the gross receipt. Gross. There may be a possibility. There is a exchange is there. There is no cash payment is there. Then there is no cash payment is there. Then only transactions are there in kind. Then how to collect the tax? It is very difficult when there is no payment is there. Then they provided the deductor has to ensure that tax has been paid on this transaction. How to get it insured? It has not been clarified. How it is insured? Insurance means either he pay the taxes in getting the tax and deposit as advance tax, or he's deposit as a TDS. But it is not when insurance is not clear how to get it insured. That has to be clarified by the. I think in later after budget there may be when the question will arise. This will become. And the who is liable to pay deduct the taxes? Person who has a business income or a person category is as 2. The person who has a business income or the person don't have a business income. A person has a business income, then he has to deduct the TDS as well as per the provision. The person don't have a business, then he has to deposit not to take the TAN number, he has to deposit as earlier provided in the, we are deducting the TDS as the immobile property and transaction of the sale of property. Challan come written form is there, 26QB, that will be applicable. On the PAN basis, that has to be deducted. The limit quantum is also there. The business, when there is a business, then the limit is if transaction is more than 10,000 rupees. And in the case of non-business, it is 50,000 rupees. That is broadly, the limit is there. One more section is there in this related transaction is there. When they virtual visualize it, there may be virtual assets has been gifted to the other party. One rate if it gifted to other party, we know 56 to 10 section is there. Deeming income is there. When the asset is transferred by one person to another person and the value between the value of the asset is 50,000. If it is without consideration, if consideration and the value of with the actual fair value is more than 50,000, that is also come under the purview of the deemed income under section 56(2)(10). Now they brought this asset also under this in ambit of this section. What is that? This is if VDA, virtual digital asset transfer by one person to another person, and the value of this is more than 50,000, or if that is transfer and the fair value and the actual value consideration is difference is more than 50,000, then it is taxable in the hand of the recipient, not the giver. It is the recipient. That is covered under the 56(2) deeming income from other source. Income from other source also, the tax rate will be again covered under this. There is no doubt under the special rate has been provided. This is a broaderly coverage of this. I am giving the brief of that. There is a lot of issues. Other one I have taken the broader issue. And one more issue is coming from the professional perspective is the filing of return. Earlier we are there is a return, voluntary return, then it is a revised return, then is belated return, then it's a defective return. Now the new concept has become updated return. Now new word has been come under the updated return and modified return. Two returns has been inserted by the proposed in this budget. What is that updated return? In the last many years, when the period has been reduced for the revised return, the pupils are facing a problem. In this year, last budget even, it is reduced to even 1 month. You see the financial assessment year 21-22 returns has to be filed in time without considering this COVID period. Otherwise, it has to be filed in November and the revised period is only in December. 1 month is available for the companies, those who has a TPL assessment. So this problem is coming, how to revise the return when the pupils came to know there is an error in there. And then the government is coming with this good proposal. This proposal is the assessee whether file a return or not file the return. Both has a disadvantage. May file, belated return time has gone and the revised return period has been gone. Then he may file the return, which is known as updated return. And this period has been allotted is 2 years. 2 years from the end of the assessment year. Means 21-22 return can be updated 24, 22, 3 and 24. But it is applicable for next year. This is only 2 years available for the revision. Means this is for the prospective. But it is all other return may be filed. Earlier return also can be filed. 2 returns are available. But there is a writer who cannot file this updated return. Updated return cannot be filed by a person who has filed a loss return. If return is loss return, it cannot be updated. If reduce the tax liability बढ़ा रहे हैं तो भी नहीं कर सकते. Or if you increase the refund, claiming a refund or increase the refund, तो भी नहीं कर सकते. If there is a search matter is there, survey is there, and this survey and search is there, and the matter is in the department hand, then this cannot be updated from last 3 years. Not only the year of search, it cannot be from the last 2 years also. Means 3 years cannot be updated. यहां भी बात खत्म नहीं हुई. जिसकी असेसमेंट हो रही हो, असेसमेंट इन प्रोग्रेस है, रीअसेसमेंट प्रोग्रेस में है, रीकंप्यूटेशन प्रोसेस में है, जा कंप्लीट हो गई है तो वो भी नहीं कर सकते. कंप्लीट तो समझ आता है, that is not possible. Once it is completed, there is no need of return. But in a process, they have no option. Moreover, if the AO has a information and issue a notice under Benami law, money laundering law, Black Money Act, or any other law, if it is notice has been already issued, then also the assessee is not eligible. Or the information under section 90, subsection 90 means international transactions, that the department has got the information from outside India under section 90 and 90A from the other country, and notice has been served to the assessee, then assessee is also not eligible for that. Or prosecution has been launched for that particular year. I could not able to understand prosecution within the 2 years, how can be possible unless it is complete the assessment, penalty proceeding has to be initiated, and penalty has first to complete, then the prosecution started. I think the government is so fast to complete all the thing within a 1 year or 2 years. How it's possible? I could not get it. But it is a provision is there. That is, and further, there may be notify the other list of CBTT, those who are not covered. इतनी बात होने के बाद भी इतना काम खत्म नहीं हुआ. अब टैक्स क्या है, उसको टैक्स कंप्यूट कैसे करना है, दैट इज आल्सो प्रोवाइडेड अंडर सेक्शन 140A(b). who you have to how much tax has to be. That is additional income, definitely. Additional length, there is a tax also, there is interest also. A tax and interest, though, everyone is ready to pay. Now there is catch on this, another issue. You have to pay the additional tax. The additional tax is 25% of the your tax, interest and fees, whatever you pay liability is there. And if return is filed or not filed, both ways formula has been given in the section 140B. If you have updated the return within 1 year, then you have to pay the 25% of the additional tax. If that is revision is taken after 1 year, before 2 years means after 1 and 2 years, within second year, then this liability will increase from the 50% additional tax. Practically, how many pupils will avail this benefit? We have a doubt. Because this rate of additional tax is very high, 25% and 50%. It should be around 10%, 5%, 10%, then the pupil may think of that. But they have compared with the section 270A penalty provision. Penalty provision is there, the first is a 50%, 200%, they compile with that, so that commensurate with that, so that the penalty come under the first hand time to government. This is the about the updated income return. Then the amount next is a modified return. This is the need of the hour, modified return. What is a modified return? You see, the merger acquisition is taken place, then there a lot of time is taken by the courts to pass the final order. The appointed date is the day when the application is filed or given in the proposal itself. When the application is filed and when the order has passed, there is a number of years has been gone. 2 years, 3 years, sometime more than that. The filing of return, once the merger has been approved by the government, by the court, then there is a 2 years or 1 year there backdate that the accounts has to be consolidated and their return has to be filed. And there is no provision in the act to file the return, how to file it. Now they brought it under section 170 capital A. They are providing that the revision return can be filed as a modified return with the give it the effect of this merger or demerger. They can file the return. There's a good move. There's a possibility so that the return is come to the department. Now this is say the successor can file the return. There's no doubt in the case of amalgamation, successor is to be filed the return. But it is not clear from the proposal. Two return has to be revised, modified. The return of the company which is merged with the merged company. So both has to file the return. One has to withdraw all the income and other has to in consolidated. But it is not come under the whether who is to successor has to file whether both the return or one return. It is not clearing from the proposal. And the same time they have modified the one. This section itself is also saying the successor and predecessor is there. Normal problem is coming in the case of the successor. When companies merged or taken over by the company's department is already taken the initiative of filing issue of notices for the assessment. If assessment is already started and the company is merged with another company, then there is a succession is there. Assuming A is a company merged with the B. Income tax has issued the notice in the name of the A and start the proceeding. And later on, this company has merged and the name has changed. The court has held in many cases that once the company is merged, there is no existence of the company. The order passed in the name of the predecessor is an invalid assessment. To come out of that litigation problem, they come up with the proposal under section 170, which says If that is the case, then the day application filed for this merger or till the date the order received by the commissioner, that date, if the order is passed in the name of the predecessor company, then this order will be valid order, and in the eyes of the law, this is a valid order. This is also to avoid the litigations and move this further. Now the period is COVID period. There is last year the government has given a press release. The pupils have faced with the financial problem for the treatment of their medical treatment. They don't have any fund, or they have got the support from the others. Or on the death of the person on the COVID, pupil has supported or the employer has been supported. Now they brought out with the amendment proposals in the section 17, which stated is, if any medical treatment is given supported by the employer for the COVID-19 in the hospitalization cost, then this is not be treated as a leave of perquisite in the hand of the employees. Now you see in the pupils also getting the support from the others. They don't have any financial support. Then the other pupil, if has supported to the person for the COVID treatment, then section 56(2)(10), if it amount is more than 50,000 rupees supported by another in the consolidated in the year, that is taxable as a deemed income in the hand of the person. Now they proposed with the proposal under section 56(2)(10), accrued that proposed amount which is received for the COVID treatment under the hospitalization. This is one. Second is, in the case of death, the financial support is receiving from the employer as well the other than the employer by the family. Again, 56(2)(10), attracting it is a deemed income provision. There also comes the provision exclusion clause, which stated if anything is received from the employer as gratia on the death of the COVID patient, then this amount is not taxable in the hand of the recipient, means family members. If this is received from the other than the employer, then also it is not taxable, but there is a ceiling is there. There is a 10 lakh rupees. If amount is more than 10 lakh rupees or up to 10 lakh rupees, up to 10 lakh rupees, very clearly it is not part of the deemed income 56(2)(10). But if it is more than 10, it is, I think, is drafting error is there. It seems to be an taxable whole. It is says it is excluding only if more than 10 lakh rupees. But the press release is originally issued by the ministry. It says up to 10 lakh it is exempt. If it is more than 10, it is taxable of additional amount, not the whole. Further, there is a definition of the relatives also been defined. So who are the relative dependents who gets the money? It is of section 56(2)(10). There is वाधवा जी मुझे टाइम बता देना, क्योंकि बहुत सारे प्रोविजन है। मतलब मनोज जी एक मिनट देख लेना, मुझे बता देना जहां तक चलना है।
सर अभी है 20
मिनट, अगर ब्रीफ में समझाऊंगा तो समझ ही नहीं आएगा प्रोविजन।
15-20 मिनट क्योंकि ऊपर क्वेश्चंस भी देने।
ये जो फाइन प्रिंट आप बता रहे हैं ना बलदेव राज जी, ये कोई और नहीं बता पाएगा। दिस इज द फाइन प्रिंट यू आर टेलिंग अस बेसिकली।
ओके, थैंक यू वेरी मच मनोज। नाउ द इशू इज there is amendment in the allowability of expenses, section 37. अभी तक क्या होता था? There is a 37, there is a expenditure which is a violation of offense, means penalty and fines, it is not taxable, not allowable expenses. Now people are taking a claim, this is allowable if expenses incurred outside India. If the infringement is outside India, it is not law of India, so that is allowable or not allowable. Now they are come in the amendment in the case of explanation 3 under section 37, which is says a wholly and exclusively incurred for the business purposes. The proposed budget is says includes the where there is a law of hand, there is offense either in India or outside India. It is treated as offense expenses. It is not allowable. Second is benefit or perquisite. benefit or perquisite which is the violation of any law, regulation, rules, guidelines covering the conduct of the person. अब इसका बड़ा सा एग्जांपल आपको देते हैं. This is you have seen in last 3-4 years. Medical representative are normally government medically companies, pharmaceutical companies are giving gift to the doctors. They are giving incentive to the doctors. They are giving other means of to promote their product. Now that as per the Indian Medical Council rules regulation, this is not a allowable amount to be paid by the pharmaceutical companies to the doctors. This is as per the regulation. There is a restriction, but pharmaceutical companies are claiming this as allowable expenses. Then the matter is with the AO has disallowed it, and the department has taken the matter in the appeal, and the appeal the court has held in the against in the favor of the assessee. Now they brought this with this. Any benefit and perquisite value has been given to anyone which is prohibited by the law, rule, regulation anywhere, then these are not allowable as this is treated as expense on offense which is prohibited by the law. It is not allowable. A third is compounding of the offense. Offense में आपने charge दिया, fees दी, either or there is a penalty. If it is penalty has been given and as a compounding also, that is also covered under this and not allowable as a expense under section 37. In the next point is proposed bill is allowability of cess and surcharge under the as expense under the business income. We all are aware section 40 subsection A clause 2 not permitting to allow the income tax and from the allowability of the expenses. Pupils, when the definition is there, they say there a tax. Then the jurisdiction, many courts has held this is cess and surcharge. Cess and surcharge is not a part of tax. It is allowable tax. It is allowable expenses. Now they brought with the this amendment, proposed amendment with effect from retrospectively from 2005, which says this tax includes surcharge and cess. It means whatever the cesses and surcharge is there, claimed it is by the assessees in the last 2 years, they have to revise because this is not allowable now from the retrospectively effective. Then there is amendment proposed in section 43B. 43B, we all are aware. This is allowable an expense which is on paid basis, even though assessees follow the accrual basis of accounting. Accrual basis of accounting, you are following an allowability only the cash basis. There is a provision of where interest is payable to the financial institutions, NBFCs, and to the bank. If that is not paid before the filing of the return, they are not allowable expenses as per section 43B. But pupils are what is doing it, their interest is converted into the loan, then it is not allowable. There is explanation is 43B. But loan advances, they are issue the debentures, not converted into loan. Now the pupils are converted this interest payable into the debentures and claiming it is allowable expenses. Now they brought with the amendment that if this interest is not paid and converted into loan, advances, or issue of debenture or any other instrument which is later on to be paid, then this deemed to have been not paid and is not allowable as interest under section 43B. Next point is about the 56 section. Subsection 10, we have discussed about this medical benefit, COVID or Escherichia. This is we have already covered. The main issue which is there are major changes there about 68. Section 68, we all aware is about the cash credit. Cash credit in my books of account, which is not explained by the assessee, or it is not up to the mark of the explanation to the assessing officer. If that is so, then this cash credit will be treated as income in the hand of the assessee under section 68, and there is a special rate tax is available. It's chargeable under 30%, and no expenses being allowed. Now they brought a provision. There is a proviso is there which says if that is a case, cash credit, then no need to explain the source of the source. Means if the money is received by X from me as a loan, then X has to explain about the source, means from me, who has given me, I have given the loan to the party X, and in the case of the X, this amount is credited in the books of account as a loan. He has to satisfy the three conditions: identity of me, my identity, my transaction is a genuine transaction, and I have a worthiness of the payment. These three conditions are there. Now they are saying the my source from where I have made the payment to the X is also required to be just satisfied to the SEO. Means source of source is also be required under this section. Now this is a broader, very difficult to implement it. You see, the person is giving the loan in the course of business to any SSC. Then how he will justify it? Why the person will give his source of payment to the loan? Source of source is very difficult to establish, and I think it's very difficult practically for this justification. There are changes in major change in the trust cases. If you see the trust, in the case of trust, there two sections are there which is provided as exempted income. Section 11 as section 1023C, which says this income is not subject to taxable if that has been complied with the condition and rules and regulations under section 11. And there is parallel section is 1023C, where the funds institutions are in the activity of they are doing only the running hospitals as well as the education institution. They are also not liable to tax, subject to the conditions provided under the section if they are fulfilling. But there are differences between the two sections are 11 and 1023C. This is not at par. There some provision are there which is in section 11 but not under 1023C. Conditions are there. 1023C conditions are there which is not section 11. So under this act proposal, now it has been proposed that both the section will be at par. They are trying to brought all the provision which is in the section 11 as complied with the section 1023C also. And more 2-3 issues are very important in that, but you see all the changes are been there. First is the maintenance of books of account. Earlier, there is no provision is required whether they have to maintain the books of accounts or not. But audit is required. Once audit is there, the books has to be there. But now they brought legally the books has to be maintained, and the form and maintenance they will prescribe. Means they will provide a specific way how to incorporate this there. The major change is there. The person, trustees, and interest other related party definition of the section 13, where if they are getting an unreasonable benefit from the trust, then this expenses no doubt is not allowable in the hand of the trust. But now they brought in the penalty provision under section 271, where it says if this infringement or violation is there, undue benefit and reasonability is given to these trustees or specified person, then 100% amount of the equivalent to the amount which is given to these pupils is subject to tax penalty in the first instances. If second instance is there subsequently, then this penalty will be 200% on the trust if this is being followed. Third is There is no carry forward losses is available as provided in the last year also. Now they brought, if violation is there, then it means income is to be computed not as per section 1112 or 1023C. So how much expenses to be allowed, there is a matter of litigation. Now they brought with the proposals, what are the expenses to be allowed and how to compute the income. They have brought with the computation this corpus expense incurred out of the corpus is not allowable. Expense incurred out of the loans not allowable. Expense which is a corpus depreciation not allowed. Expense which is capital in nature not allowed. Expense which is donation given to other parties is not allowable, and the rate of tax will be 30%. And last but very important part is, it is only allowability on the cash basis. Means accrual basis accounting, even though followed by the SSC, the application of income will be allowed on cash basis. These are the broader, but there is very many provisions, amendment proposal under this section need to be studied, and this is the broader which is important. I have come just for reference. हाँ जी, और टाइम है तो बताइए सर, नहीं तो मैं फिर there is a number of things are there, but I think these are the major issues which is in light.
Thank you very much, Shri Baldev Raj. I think you have very comprehensively touched upon the topic, and many of our participants are very happy. I think I have some questions related
Definitely.
to this. Before that, I would like to ask Shri M K Anand ji if he has any questions relating to this topic, or any of the participants also, if they have any questions, they can ask.
थैंक यू संकल्प जी. यूरोप में अगर आपसे कोई कॉफी पूछे और आप थैंक्स बोल रहे हैं तो इट कैन मीन टू वेज. थैंक्स मीन हाँ लूंगा, या थैंक्स मीन आई वोंट टेक. So I think Baldev Raj ji has taken, okay, then I am stopping here. But I think he was, I like to moderate it for 2-3 minutes, and then I have a question also. See, I think the focus of this government, as was rightly pointed out by Jha Sahab in the very beginning, is to make all of us as Indians aware about that what is this exercise. I think they are trying to take the fizz out of it, like they have stopped the railway budget presentation, and slowly they are going to make it as a routine thing that nobody is going to be bothered about ke kya hone wala hai. This is one point. Secondly, I think they are also at pains to project to the world that we are now presenting a roadmap or a map for a longer period. That is why we are sustaining the things, we are simplifying the things, and then we are making the thing no surprises. I take the no changes in the income tax slabs as per that account. Like Baldev Raj ji mentioned about 15% of the time, yet all the professionals are busy into that. To my mind, Government of India or the present government is now feeling that please look beyond these two things, direct taxes and indirect taxes collection, and what is happening to those handful of 2 crore taxpayers, basically. Like in a very subtle way, Jha Sahab explained that these are the things. So I think all of us now understand that there is much more to the budget than only those areas where we have been always looking forward. Yaar, isme kuch nahi hua, isme kuch nahi hua. I mean, my excuse to my fellow professionals over here. So, Jha Sahab, we are very grateful for your very simple and very subtle explanation of the budget exercise. And then I think, as professionals, as our institute also, and all colleagues should look beyond that. Like 7.5 lakh crore is happening. How about the time overruns, cost overruns, and then whether they are going to add to the fiscal deficit, or how we can plug in those gaps. And I think Vaswani Sahab also very certainly mentioned about the GST provisions, and I think he was in a hurry, but I think his lecture was really very interesting. The best part came when Baldev Raj ji took over, and he was a person who went into the fine prints. So when Government of India is पैटिंग इट्स बैक। देखिए साहब, हमने आपको बड़ा ओपन बता दिया कि 2 साल में आप अपना ले आइए, एंड देन ही हैज टोल्ड ऑल ऑफ अस कि भैया वो कितने लोग ऐसे होंगे जो वापस जाएंगे, ये नहीं जा सकता, वो नहीं जा सकता। थैंक यू वेरी मच सर फॉर योर वेरी apt, and I think Sankalp ji, the budget speech with such professionals should actually be focused with them only, to my mind, basically. Now, since we have an economic perspective and an indirect perspective and a direct perspective, and each one of them is an expert in their area, so maybe we have deprived our listeners from their individual things. But I, as a professional, my dear friends, I personally feel that it is a long-drawn budget where government's interest is on simplifying the things. जैसे कितना important उन्होंने वो जो डॉक्टर्स के ऊपर में खर्चा करने वाला है, they are disallowing. They say that we give it a damn. So जो आपके लिटिगेशन में पड़ा हुआ है उसको भी हम लोग खत्म करेंगे और उन सारी चीजों को हम, they are trying to simplify. They are trying to sustain. They are trying to make a sustainable roadmap. And I think these budgets, I mean, we don't want to color ourselves with this government or that government, but these budgets are at least talking about 5 years down the line. 5 years down the line ऐसे होगा, या इन चीजों की वजह से हम लोग ऐसे करने जा रहे हैं. All of a sudden, we are all aware that there are hardly 2 crore taxpayers, all of us. There are captive taxpayers, like all the government tax employees are taxpayers and all that. So I think we had an excellent speaker plethora over here who should have been, in justice, who should have been given much longer time to really understand. I have one question I'll just take 1 more minute. By a gentleman named Mr. Yogesh Bisht. He has mentioned that there have been a revocation of anti-dumping duty and countervailing on stainless steel in this budget. I'll just take 1 minute. You see, Yogesh ji, I am unable to see you, but wherever you are, and then we can connect maybe later on, because I have worked in that department. You see, DGTR, that is Directorate General of Trade Remedies, is a recommendatory body under Department of Commerce. There is a provision under GATT, Article 6 of GATT, where India has signed, and then we conduct these investigations. Being a recommendatory body, they recommend to the Ministry of Finance, who then make it a law. I mean, in the department, they are given 1 year's time to investigate, with the provision to Yogesh Bisht is there, with the provision to extend your investigation by 6 months. Then Ministry of Finance, under the creature of law, is given 3 months time to implement it. That means they are the ministry who notifies these taxes, and then only it becomes a collectible duty. Of late, Ministry of Finance looks into a public interest clause, though DGTR is also supposed to look at it, but they look a little bit more close. Of late, it is happening. I'm telling you the experience of 3 years back. So 3 years back, whatever were the duties recommended by DGTR were just blindly accepted and recommended and implemented by Ministry of Finance. Since last 2 years, let us take an example of if 10 recommendations have gone, so they have not agreed to 4 or 5 recommendations, particularly in case of textiles, steels, and chemicals. So it has nothing to do with this budget. It has nothing to do with the budget exercise. That is a totally separate exercise. DGTR recommends and Ministry of Finance implements. In certain cases, they feel that public laws doesn't warrant it, so they don't implement it. So that was to your question. And now, if we have questions to our honorable speakers, 2 of them are present, Jha Sahab and Baldev Raj.
So, thank you, sir, for your answer, sir.
Mahesh Mittal ji, he is the former Director Finance of NHPC. He has some questions. I think, sir, you can unmute your mic and ask question here.
Yeah, first, good afternoon, everyone, particularly Mr. Anand, Mr. Wadhwa, and everyone. My question is with regard to the taxability of the virtual digital asset. As Mr. Baldev Raj mentioned that it is not clear whether it should be taxed under capital gain or other income. According to my point of view, this should be taxed under capital gain because the budget provision says that 30% tax will be levied after deducting the cost of acquisition. The cost of acquisition is only covered under capital gains and it's not covered under other heads of income, number one. Number two, there is no deductibility over the other expenses and there is a TDS provision also. So that is one point of view. And the second is that, intra-head or the set-off part of it. When we say set-off means intra-head set-off or set-off over a period of time. Now, business income and business losses of the two units can be set off within the same year. Income Tax Act does not have any such provision. It's implied that if you have a gain on one virtual digital asset and you have a loss from the other digital asset, you can always set it off because it is the same activity and same activity does not require any specific provision with regard to set off. If it is inter-head or over a period of time, then it's a different thing. So that is not allowed. The law itself is, the provision itself is very clear. The third point is regarding the modified return. Mr. Baldev Raj mentioned that the modified return, it is not clear whether the merged company will modify or the company which is liquidated that will modify. It is very clear that a company which is no longer in existence, whose merger has been approved, which is not a going concern anymore, that company has low legal standing in the eye of law, and as such company cannot make a revised return or cannot modify a return at all. Only a company which is a going concern that can only revise the return or modify the return. Have a comment. So that is my submission for Mr. Baru.
Thank you, Mehji. Very good questions you have raised it. First is about the taxability of the under the capital gain or income from other source, but I have said it. Capital gain is taxable only when it is fall under the definition of the capital asset. If you read the section 2, subsection 14 or clause 14, which is stated about the capital asset definition, for the benefit of the members, I am just reading it. Capital asset means property of any kind held by the assessee, whether or not connected with his business or profession. Now, the property of any kind, I think that is still a question mark whether it is a part of property or not property. Property includes tangible, include intangibles, no doubt it. If it is so, the why the currencies are also there. That is whether it is a properties still as part of the capital asset. It's to be taxed as a capital gain if the currencies we are transferring it, other than the business means. This is from that perspective or angles I have stated. It is not clearly understood as debated amongst our professionals. I am initially my view is also as a capital asset also, but there is a forum which is discussing. That is the reason I am discussed it. For the benefit of the members, it is not clearly you just blindly follow the capital asset only. It will matter of discussion only. Yes, sir.
Mittal Saab, I think maybe he is satisfied. Can I add one point, sir? Here.
No, sir. It's no doubt it's a continuous issue and it's not clear in the law. But for the sake of discussion, I raised this issue. And the very purpose of raising this issue is the law says virtual digital asset. So it is it is an asset, right? And it talks about cost of acquisition also. So it can be intangible asset also, and it can be a tangible asset also.
Yes.
But the law is not clear, that is very sure, and we can debate on this at any length. But Mr. Baldev Raj is also very clear that it can be construed either way, and the things will be clear sooner than later.
Later on.
Once the law is going to be implemented, then the things will have to be very clear.
More second issue is you are directing the cost of acquisition is. Cost of acquisition cannot be a reason for treated as a capital asset only. It's a method of computation. It is a method, maybe a cost of acquisition. It may be another method. No doubt, Section 48 has been provided with a computation method of computation of capital gain, which is clearly stated. It has to be reduced from the cost of acquisition.
I have a small comment to make here, Baldev Raj.
Yes, sir.
That also emanates from your this observation and Mithil Saab's point and your during your presentation. You see, हम लोग अब ये देखें that we are now working with a very vibrant government, whereas the world's top economies have been thinking twice about what to do with cryptocurrency. अभी 10 दिन पहले ही हमारे यहाँ पर भी ये चल रहा था, RBI क्या करेगा या क्या नहीं करेगा. They have brought it into the budget exercise, and they are telling we are going to tax it. How they are going to do it is a separate issue. All these contentious. You also mentioned during your talk कि वो 2 साल में तो वो क्या 1 साल में वो prosecution कर लेंगे, और वो in one connection you were mentioning कि 2 साल के बाद में they are telling तो they have to prosecute, they have to. You see, to my mind, we are now dealing with the very vibrant, up to the date, and a government who is looking forward what is happening, and then they are bringing it in the system basically. We should not be satisfied. We should not be surprised if they may be doing those prosecutions in 1 year and all these type of things. So we have to really gear up now. I mean, मैं अपने आप को लेता हूँ जी, जो थोड़ा सा पुराने मतलब old fossils हैं, young लोग तो सभी इस चीज को जानते हैं. मतलब they are really going to be very fast into this. जो international developments हो रही हैं, we were hearing about the expenditure tax. We were hearing even the change of accounting year also from January to December to fall it in line. So they are really leaving no stone unturned of ease of doing business. आप एक बार जरा देखिए इनकी जो website है. We have stepped up around 40 places in 2 years' time. We were doing one seminar with the Noida people, and there that fellow told कि जो labor laws हैं उन्होंने ही हमें सिर्फ 20 या 30 पायदाने उसके ऊपर में दे दिया है. तो point I was trying to make it that apart from analyzing this budget, we as professionals should also understand that we are in for a very fast moving, resilient and aware government of all international development, that what is happening, and then we should also equip ourselves with that. Basically, that is what I just want to mention. कपूर साहब कुछ कह रहे हैं.
संतोष
सर नमस्कार जी.
नमस्कार.
मेरा एक क्वेश्चन था कि जो ये वर्चुअल डिजिटल एसेट्स के बारे में आप डिस्कस कर रहे थे, मोर देन 50,000, तो अगर ये जो गिफ्ट किया है ये ब्लड रिलेशन में होता है, लाइक हस्बैंड वाइफ को करता है या अपने बच्चों को करता है, तो भी ये टैक्सेबल होगा या नहीं?
नहीं, वो देखिए 56(2)(10) जो एक्सक्लूजन है वो तो एप्लीकेबल है ही है ना, उसमें रिलेटिव पार्टी एक्सक्लूड है, ये भी एक्सक्लूड है. ठीक है जी.
एक्चुअली सर मेरा भी इसके भी इस टॉपिक पे डिस्कशन हो रहा, तो मेरा भी एक क्वेश्चन था. बेसिकली रिसेंटली
ये सारे वो लोग हैं जो डिजिटल करेंसियां लेके बैठे हुए हैं.
सर मेरे पास कुछ नहीं है सर.
आपके क्लाइंट के पास होंगी.
नहीं, अगर नहीं है तो ले लीजिए.
कपूर साहब आप एक बात देखिए, योर गवर्नमेंट इज नाउ अवेयर कि डिजिटल करेंसी इज अ इन थिंग.
जी
वो उसको बनाने की कोशिश कर रहे हैं बेसिकली कि क्या. सॉरी संकल्प, मैंने आपका बात काटी.
So basically क्या था कि recently the income tax department has sent notices to various crypto companies dealing in cryptocurrency. One of them is WazirX. Now in case of WazirX, one of the points that they made was that WazirX, some of the transactions are not even happening in India because they have an entity which is registered outside India. So they are making those transactions of cryptocurrency out of India. When they make such transactions, but they have customers who are in India, and the entity is registered outside India, do we have any taxability? So what are your views on this? That they will also come under the tax net, or this is something which is a contentious issue?
You see, who is coming under the proviso of the taxability is a person who is selling the goods. Selling. First thing is selling. Seller by whom? Buyer or seller, both are there. From the taxation point of view, only the seller is liable to pay the tax. And he has to deduct the TDS also under section, specific section is there, 194S. Section 195 is also there if he's bought the goods from the outside India. Even though if cryptocurrencies is purchased from the outside India. Section 195 said if the payment is made to the non-resident, and these, if it is subject to tax in India, then it is also as subject to TDS also. So TDS is applicable on both the things, either on the resident or non-resident. Earlier this was not clear, now it is very clear. It may be the country where he is staying, it is a DTA is there, double taxation advisor DTA is there. There you may say as a, it's only a trader only. Trading business is not subject to tax in India because it's a no and not as a business operation in India, not having business connection in India, or neither have any PE in India. So they may not have a taxability in India. So taxability not bear of that company, outside company in India. But the person who is selling it to the outside or brought in from the outside, if it is when it is sold out, then it is liable to tax. This is my understanding. Anything, Wadhwa? Still, you have left any question? I am ready.
No, I think you have explained it comprehensively. Baki, of course,
I think you should have a clause-wise clause discussion because many things are there. 84 clauses. I think 2 hours is also less to discuss that.
Too much.
Very technical issues are there. Very technical issues.
बट आपने बड़ी फाइन प्रिंट तो बड़े बढ़िया पढ़े और बड़े बढ़िया बताए, जितने सुने हम लोगों ने।
नहीं, जितना समय आपने दिया सर, कोशिश थी, तो मेरे को क्वेश्चन तो जितना पढ़ना तो पड़ता ही है सर।
इनको, ये वरुण को और संकल्प जी को ये बता रहा हूँ, हम अपनी अपनी चाय पी रहे हैं अपने घरों में बैठ के। अब तो खुल गया यार, अब तो ओपन होना चाहिए, ये लंबा एक होना चाहिए जिसमें कि वी कैन रियली डिबेट।
हाफ डे कम से कम चाहिए आपका, हाफ डे सेशन होना चाहिए।
यू आर एब्सोल्युटली राइट।
और फिजिकल
जस्ट ए टच सिचुएशन। आई मीन वी वर
जस्ट मनोज जी आपके साथ चाय पीने का फिजिकल और मजा आएगा।
थैंक यू वेरी मच। और नहीं, बट आप देखिए कि बट आप इस बात को देखिए, मैं आपको एक बार बताऊं, आप सोचिए इस बात को। ये गवर्नमेंट जो है ना, कहीं डिजिटल हो रही, क्या हम सोच सकते थे ये बजट में लाएंगे इसको? एटलीस्ट आई वाज नॉट। दे वर डिबेटिंग इन आरबीआई के यार ये लीगल है, इलीगल है, रोज ये नहीं आ रही।
देखिए ये बिल है ना, बिल ऑलरेडी स्टैंडिंग कमेटी के पास है जी, तो वी आर आल्सो हैव अ डाउट एनी प्रोविजन में कम अंडर द बजट वंस द मैटर इज पेंडिंग बिफोर द कमिटी इटसेल्फ।
नहीं, बलदेव जी, you are absolutely right. That is the procedure. But the point that all these happenings, which are just happened last week only, digital currency को कुछ countries ले आई हैं, they have taken it to the budget itself basically.
Yes,
speaks कि अब हम लोगों को थोड़ी सी ना अपनी वो जो 15 मिनट वाला मामला है ना, उससे हमें थोड़ा सा लार्ज जाना पड़ेगा।
15 मिनट इसलिए बताया था कि प्रोफेशनली वो 15 मिनट ना समझे, 15 घंटे वाला काम है।
हाँ, वो 15 घंटे वाला काम है ना,
15 मिनट नहीं है।
नहीं,
उसको अंडरस्टैंड करने में 15 मिनट जो बोला है, उसको आपको 15 घंटे पढ़ना पड़ेगा समझने के लिए।
कम से
इट्स अ वेरी टेक्निकल इश्यूज आर देयर।
नहीं, एब्सोल्युटली यू आर एब्सोल्युटली राइट। वरुण जी, वाधवा जी, अब आई थिंक if there are no more questions, then we can our illustrious speakers.
झा साहब कुछ कहना चाह रहे थे, लग रहा है।
झा साहब
नहीं, मैं बस इतना ही कह रहा था कि जो बलदेव राज जी का जो मतलब कि जो नॉलेज है ना, इसको थोड़ा स्प्रेड आउट करना जरूरी है। अभी भी इनकम टैक्स वगैरह में काफी डायरेक्ट टैक्सेस में बहुत सारा मिथ है, और genuine taxpayers are not getting good advice. So let him have a half-day webinar on this, and let professionals come, not only from ICWA but other also. Let it be a public debate, because then people will get information from them. Otherwise वो हो सकता है वहाँ डायरेक्ट टैक्स वालों को भी ना बहुत चीजें मालूम
नहीं मालूम होती। You are right, नहीं मालूम,
तभी पता चलेगा।
So
Thank you. Thank you.
So,
May I thanks to all to give me opportunity, particularly Wadhwa ji. Wadhwa ji know me, I think because of him I am here. I'm
Now we
thankful to him
all
also.
know you, sir. Now we all know you.
Definitely, sir.
Everybody knows it here.
I think 3 cheers for our speakers. झा साहब हैं और वो हैं and Mr. वासवानी जो हमारे गए हैं बेसिकली. ये हमारे वरुण जी का आइडिया था कि हमारे स्पीकर्स ये खुले रखें अपने जो ये हैं माइक्रोफोन्स, तो थोड़ा सा पार्टिसिपेशन ज्यादा रहती है. एंड आई थिंक ही इज राइट, थोड़ा स्पीकर्स को भी रहता है, अदरवाइज इट बिकम्स अ वेरी स्टैटिक टाइप ऑफ अ डायलॉग.
नहीं तो मनोज जी ਐਵੇਂ ਲੱਗਦਾ ਕਮਰੇ 'ਚ ਖਾਲੀ ਬੈਠੇ ਬੋਲੀ ਜਾ ਰਹੇ
ਬੈਠੇ. ਸਹੀ ਕਹਿ ਰਹੇ ਕਿ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਹੁਣ ਪੰਜਾਬੀ ਵਾਲੀ ਗੱਲ ਕੀਤੀ ਹੈ ਨਾ ਤੁਸੀਂ, ਮੈਂ ਬਿਲਕੁਲ ਇਹੀ ਕਹਿਣ ਲੱਗਿਆ ਸੀ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਕਿ अरुण तो बड़ा अच्छा पंजाबी जानता है. वी हैव बीन टुगेदर इन मिनिस्ट्री फॉर दैट रीजन. कपूर साहब भी हैं काफी. एब्सोल्युटली राइट यू आर. मतलब वो इस तरह लगता जी बिल्कुल ਤੁਸੀਂ जब तक ਤੁਹਾਡਾ ਆਪਸ ਵਿੱਚ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਥੋੜਾ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੋਏਗਾ ਨਾ ਜੀ ਇੰਟਰੈਕਸ਼ਨ,
आई कांटेक्ट ਹੁੰਦਾ ਨਾ ਤਾਂ इजी ਹੁੰਦਾ है समझना भी समझाना भी.
एब्सोल्युटली राइट. हमारे एक बड़े सीनियर राकेश ढींगरा साहब भी मौजूद हैं यहाँ पर. मेरी आज ही सुबह इनसे बात हुई थी. राकेश जी चेहरा दिखाओ ना यार, चेहरा छुपा के बैठे हो आप.
सुता तो देखोगे
हैं?
मैं क्या, मैं तो लेट गया ना यार.
अच्छा लेट गया.
मैंने बिठा दोगे जी, मैंने बिठा दोगे.
ਇਹ ਕੰਮ ਹੀ ਇਹੋ ਜਿਹੇ ਸੁੱਤੇ ਹੋਏ ਨੂੰ ਉਠਾ ਦਿਓ, ਖੜੇ ਹੋਏ ਨੂੰ ਦੌੜਾ ਦਿਓ. ਇਹ ਕੰਮ
अंकल मैसेज आया ਸੀਗਾ ਮੈਨੂੰ, तो मैं कहा चलो घर पहुंचिए, देखिए बैठी थोड़ी देर.
नहीं बहुत अच्छा किया है, बहुत अच्छा किया. मेरे ख्याल we can thank
everybody knows. Very good interaction.
So I think the program has concluded now. So I would request Shri M K Anand ji to give a formal vote of thanks to the speakers as well to all the participants who joined us today.
Thank you, Sankalp ji. Thank you, Varun, for joining this program, Faridabad Chapter se. I am very thankful to our illustrious speakers, especially Baldev Raj ji, a professional who has really skintily analyzed the budget provisions. अरुण झा साहब के साथ में मैं थोड़ी सी प्रिविलेज ले लेता हूं क्योंकि बड़ा पुराना इनके साथ में मेरा ताल्लुक है. एंड आई हैव सीन हिम एज a bureaucrat who have been really helping the government in transcripting their policies to suit the common public. And आपका जो presentation आया था वो that really was in that way only. And our Vaswani Sahab, who despite his busy schedule could reflect some parts on GST. Again, I will like to thank Baldev Raj ji for his very apt talk and which really generated a lot of debate. क्योंकि those areas have yet to be there and he is very right कि अभी इनमें से कितने provisions act बन जाएंगे या नहीं बन पाएंगे. And special thanks to all our members who really remained with us for this little longer session, 2 hours and a quarter session. And it was a very interesting topic, and Sankalp and Varun, both of you have really chosen it. And it was just a brushed aside. I mean, we really, as was rightly observed by most of the members and the speakers as well, we could really not have gone into much details, though that is what is required as professionals, but it was just a brush aside so that we just have a glimpse of it. And thank you all the participants for joining us and being there for this longer session. And thanks once again for all of you basically. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Varun ji. Thank you. Okay, such a wonderful session.